My name is William Smith. I, in the late 70s and early 80s, I was a principal in an elementary school and then was moved to the middle school. And at the same time, I was working part-time as an upward bound math teacher. And that's where I met Beverly. Her name was Beverly Day at that time. And we worked together on the staff at Upward Bound. We had directors who had no experience working with youth. They were working on their doctorate and they got to be the director, but they couldn't control the students. They couldn't keep the program going. So I was one of those who would discipline the kids and that they respected. And Beverly was also. Beverly was in the role of a counselor for Upward Bound. And she won the respect of the students because students like when you're in control and competent. And she was that. She was straight out of Prairie View A&M with her bachelor's degree and working on a master's degree at the time. So after I was appointed to be the principal of the middle school, but I had 1 year to do the assistant principal at the junior high campus. We had teachers who were forced to coach the girls' sports because girls had just come back into UIL competition in public schools around that time. So the coaches that the girls had were English teachers, and they were not really athletes and didn't really want to coach, but they had to do that to get the job. And it was a little extra money. Well, the position became vacant at midterm, and I called Beverly and said, hey, I had been talking to her for a while about becoming a teacher because she had what I thought a great skill set to work with youth. So I convinced her to come and work for a semester at Greenwood Junior High School. She was to coach basketball and volleyball. Well, she came to my office one day and she says, I can't stand it. I can't stand it. I said, what is it, Beverly? She said, these girls don't know how to win. They don't even care about winning. And she says, I said, what are you talking about? She says, when they make a mistake out on the court, they look up in the stands and laugh with their classmates or family. She says, I can't have that. When we get on the court, we are there to win. And that's the way I want it to be. And I said, well, that's why I asked you to come over here. She began to talk winning and talk to the students and put up posters in the dressing room about winners and so forth. And then you get to motivate the kids to try for it, not to give up, not to be content with losing. And they had some success. So when we moved into the middle school, Beverly was the head girls coach. And she also taught PE. She came to me and said, Mr. Smith, I need these girls. She said the best girl athletes, she knew them because they were in PE or in cheerleaders. She said they need to be in athletics. Athletics will take them further than cheerleaders. And so we talked about that, and finally she said, what I want you to do is I want you to let me be over the cheerleaders and coach. So I said, Beverly, you know, those are two extracurricular activities, and I don't know how you would be able to do this. She said, you just let me do it, I'll do it. Well, it made sense to me because she was going to build a relationship with the best girls to athletes. And she controlled the practice time. And so she managed to coach the cheerleaders and coach the girls' athletics, volleyball and track. And that was what caused some students to really accept the athletics, especially girls. I remember one girl, her mother was a gifted and talented coordinator for Greenville, and she was an outstanding academic student, National Merit Scholar winner, but Beverly discovered that she could run. And she talked her into signing up for track. Her mother came to me and said, she's not an athlete. She's going to go to college and she want to go to a Ivy League college and she's a strong student and so forth. And I said, yes, ma'am, that's all good. But she can also be an athlete. Beverly had convinced her. And finally, the mother decided, okay, we'll try this. Well, the child was fast and she won a first place. And not only that, she went on to get a full ride in athletics and track. A mother who was still a gifted and talented coordinator came to me and she said, I want to thank you. I said, we need to thank Coach Humphrey. But she was the one, because she was a PE teacher and the girl was in her PE class, she identified the skill and the talent and motivated it and coached her. But so Beverly ran into a lot of problems in the early age. She's a very attractive young lady. She was closer to the students. They respected her, but they felt loyal. They were loyal to her. They wanted to please her and they wanted to be winners. And so I was middle school principal and I was Beverly's supervisor, but she wanted to follow them and coach them in high school. But we worked out a deal where she's part-time middle school and part-time high school. She coached both and did an outstanding job. But there were other teachers who did not take lightly to the kids flocking to her because she was with them and enjoyed them. They enjoyed being with them. I had a daughter who was really not an athlete. Well, she was on the track team and they just believed in Coach Humphrey because for the first time, the girls became winners, started winning in Greenville. Well, Beverly went through some harassment, but I maintained that I would be her evaluator and I was her supervisor, so I could control that. Well, the assistant principal at the high school began to write her up for every little thing, like 5 minutes late. Now, she had to travel from middle school to high school, and if she got there late in the transition, she would write her up and call her in, and they had a lot of picking at her. And I told Beverly, I said, Beverly, Greenville needs you. And I was the one that convinced you to come. I said, but you need to look further. You don't need to put up with the petty stuff because it would aggravate her. So she got this interview at Lancaster, and the superintendent called me, and I talked to him about it. He said, well, we want her. I said, you'll have a winner. Now, this was early on in her career, like the third or fourth year in her teaching career. So she went to Lancaster, and she kept saying, oh, I miss my students in Greenville, and they missed her. But I knew it was her chance. I knew she had a lot to offer and that she would be successful. Going to Lancaster, she went and found the athletes there. And I've always followed her because she was a winner. I could not allow her to stay here and be selfish when she had bigger place to go and could do a lot more. So she went to Lancaster and she built a program of pride. And I was always watching the records, and when they would win state, we congratulate her. But I never knew that she was going to be that successful. I knew she was a winner because that's the way she was as an athlete. But I've always enjoyed and taken some pride in knowing Beverly and working with her because she is a very hard-working person. She knows business, and she motivates students. She was able to contribute to so many students. I can recall we had a student who had a poor home life, and she the students would complain about her odor, and Beverly she was a good athlete. Beverly took special pride in her. She did this for so many youth and athletes, but I can remember that they were coming up for, I don't know if it was the favorites dance or the homecoming, and the child didn't have anything. So Beverly helped her get a nice dress and get her hair fixed. And the next thing you know, you couldn't hardly believe that this was the same child. And you can't imagine what it did for this child's ego and the way she was seen from then on as not just an athlete, but she was an attractive young lady. And she would not have had that if it wouldn't been for Beverly and taking special attention to her and giving her personal funds to make it happen. But I have seen that happen over and over again. That it just she never had any children, but she had a bunch of kids who were hers. Coach Humphrey was their heart, and they would do anything for her. So I don't know. She had a good knack for working with coaches and working with students. And when she was named the athletic director in Lancaster, I could not believe it. Yeah, how rare that was. But that's because she is a winner. She is a people person. She cares about the place that she worked in, and she brought them a lot of success. So I just know that she called me when she was getting ready to retire. And I said, Beverly, you're going to find that there's one day you're going to have to get off this track. You're not going to be there. And when it comes to you, you'll know. She called me and said, well, it's that time. And I encouraged her, even though she'll have a lot of changing to do, and she'll miss that job because that was her life. And but at the same time, there comes a time when you need to take advantage of your retirement and enjoy life. And so I'm sure that she will find a place in retirement to be happy and also use her skills, because she's still in what I call the youth of her old age. She always came to me when there was an issue or something, and she had the kids at heart, not just for athletics, but them as people. And even after they graduated, they would come back, and every time I run into them, that's one person they ask, "Where's Coach Humphreys?" And when you make as a teacher, that's your reward. You don't always make a lot of money, but the goal is in the success of your students. And Beverly's students have had a lot of success, and many of them are credited to her. She disciplined, she had high expectations, she taught them to be winners, and when they had success, she celebrated with them. It's really a good thing when you see an educator who can do things to motivate kids and help them be successful, and who has that passion for the child. She would go to bat for them and make sure that they had new uniforms or whatever. It used to be when girls' athletics had a fraction of the budget, and Beverly fought for them to have, good-looking outfits, to roll up in the visiting team and be attractive and look like a winning program. And I always appreciated that she didn't want to be just thrown something. She pushed. And I saw her have success here in Greenville, and I saw her have that same success and even more success in Lancaster. Well, that's something that will be remembered, something that is unique and special, that will cause future generations to admire and try to duplicate things that were done. She's a legend because she won so many district titles, but she also fought for kids and she helped them be successful. And so in the eyes of the students, she's legendary. She's, she stands tall above uh, a lot of the coaches. She invited me when she was inducted into the Hall of Fame, the track and field Hall of Fame ceremony. It was ice on the ground, but I had promised her I would come. And my wife and I drove over there. It took us a minute to drive over into Carrollton, I believe it was. But I would not miss that moment. And when I heard the fellow coaches and the adults in the room talking about what Beverly had accomplished and how that was exceptional, I already knew that she's a legend. And people will point at her and wish and try to be as successful as she is. They always, people throw around this thing about the GOAT, the greatest of all time. She's one of those. And I was a supervisor, but with the students, she is exceptional, and she said they'll always remember her. And those coaches at that ceremony where she was in, the things that they said about her, these are fellow coaches, competitors. It just proved to me, or it validated my opinion of what she was doing and how successful she had been. That's been 5 or 6 years ago, if not more. Well, the first one is she has a passion for her job, for the sports, but also passion for the student. And then the second one is that she instilled in her students to dress nice, to be attractive, to this characteristic that some people see athletes as jocks and they think that girls are not as feminine because they're athletic, but she had this knack of, hey, both of those go together. And she helped the students, some had it naturally, but some girls were very athletic, and she helped them, they dress well when they go to a game or something. They were, it was just be somebody. The other one is her work ethic. You're not successful because you hit the clock and you run and you do what's expected. You're successful because you go way beyond. And she's done it for years. Go way beyond. When I told you that she was coaching track and volleyball and the cheerleaders. Cheerleaders is a big job by itself. But that was her goal, to make those girls athletes. And so she went way beyond. And that's work ethic. The other one is you have to be strong enough to advocate for your program. People don't just throw money in athletics. When you're winning, you get a little more, but you have to know what you need and you have to ask for it. And then when you get it, you have to perform. And so she advocated for her. She knew and she was strong enough to ask and to convince people to do. If she needed an extra coach, need another coach, to do that. But Beverly was strong enough to plead the case. And so, let me see, another one. She has moral character. I have, I don't know if I should say this, but I know that Beverly was an attractive young lady, and men would, on staff, and would make a pass at her, but she had moral character. She was not that kind of person. She'd put them into place. And that's what I like. That's the way I am. You have to have some more. You got to live and show people who you are. And that's why I was proud for her to be working with the young ladies. She was the athlete, but she didn't. She taught them to look their best, to do their best, and she counseled with a lot of students. After they left the program, they were called back because that was her. They saw her as their leader or a surrogate mother or whatever, but she cared about her students. And I've run into a lot of good teachers, and I say that Beverly's second to none.